The alarm bells rang through the research ship, Nexus Prime. Dr. Zara Chen dropped her coffee cup and ran down the metal hallway. Her boots made loud sounds on the floor as she rushed to the containment bay. "Get back! Everyone, get back!" Captain Thylex shouted. His 6 arms moved quickly as he tried to push the crew away from the glass wall. Zara reached the observation deck and looked down. Her heart jumped. The creature they called Glassclaw was thrashing around in its cage. The beast was huge, bigger than an earth elephant. Its body was covered in scales that looked like broken glass. Each scale caught the light and threw it back in sharp, bright flashes. 3 crew members lay on the floor nearby. Their blue uniforms were torn and bloody. The ship's medical team was trying to help them, but they had to stay far away from the cage. Glassclaw's long neck swung back and forth like a snake. When it opened its mouth, green acid dripped out and hit the floor with a hissing sound. "What happened?" Zara asked Dr. Vextai, the head scientist. "We tried to give it medicine," the alien said. His voice was shaky. "The creature has been sick for 3 days. We thought we could use the robot arm to inject it, but the beast moved too fast. It broke the arm and hurt our people." Zara watched the creature carefully. She had studied animals her whole life, first on Earth and now in space. Something was wrong here. The way Glassclaw moved was not like a wild predator. It curled up in the corner of its cage, making itself as small as possible. Its big eyes darted around the room, looking at all the aliens staring at it. "Look at its body language," Zara said quietly. Captain Thylex heard her. His 4 eyes all turned to look at her. "Scared? That thing just sent 3 of my crew to the medical bay. It's a killer from Corvash, one of the most dangerous worlds we know." Corvash was indeed a death world. The planet was covered in crystal forests and acid lakes. Most aliens avoided it completely. The few who had visited came back with stories of monsters that could cut through metal with their claws and melt ship hulls with their breath. "Maybe we should put it out of its misery," said Gromack, the security chief. His thick armor made him look like a walking tank. "It's been getting sicker every day. Now it's hurting people." "No," Zara said quickly. "Give me time to study it first." Dr. Vextai shook his head. "We've already studied it for weeks. The data is clear. These creatures are too dangerous to handle. The only safe option is to end its suffering." Zara looked back at Glassclaw. The creature had stopped thrashing now. It lay on its side, breathing heavily. She could see a dark spot on its back, where the scales looked different. Was that a wound? "How long has it been away from its home planet?" she asked. 6 weeks, Captain Thylex answered. "We found it alone, near the crystal caves on Corvash's southern continent." "Alone?" Zara was surprised. "Are you sure?" "Yes. Our scout team searched the whole area. This was the only creature they found." That was strange. Zara had read about Corvash creatures before joining the crew. Most of the animals there lived in groups. They had to work together to survive on such a harsh world. The ship's computer voice spoke from the ceiling. "Warning. Creature vital signs are dropping. Medical attention required within 6 hours or death is likely." "See?" Dr. Vextai said. "It's dying anyway. We should end this before someone else gets hurt." Zara felt a cold feeling in her stomach. She had seen this before on Earth. Animals that were separated from their families often got sick and died. Even if nothing was physically wrong with them, humans called it dying from loneliness. "What if it's not just physically sick?" she said. "What if it's emotionally sick too?" The aliens around her looked confused. Gromack laughed. A sound like grinding metal. "Emotions? It's just a beast. Animals don't have emotions like that." But Zara knew better. She had worked with horses, dogs, and other animals on her family's farm. She had seen elephants mourn their dead and dolphins play with joy. Just because something looked different didn't mean it couldn't feel love, fear, or sadness. "I want to try something," she said. "Absolutely not," Captain Thylex said firmly. "I will not risk another crew member. The creature is too dangerous." "But what if it's only dangerous because it's scared and alone?" "That's a nice idea, human," Dr. Vextai said in a cold voice. "But science deals with facts, not feelings. The facts say this creature has attacked every person who came near it. The facts say it's getting more violent as it gets sicker." Zara looked at the creature again. Glassclaw had raised its head and was looking right at her through the glass. For just a moment, she thought she saw something in its eyes. Not anger or hunger, but something else. Something that reminded her of the lost animals she used to find on the farm. Frightened, confused, and desperately wanting help. "Give me 24 hours, she said. "Let me study its behavior patterns. Maybe I can find another way." The aliens talked quietly among themselves in their own languages. Finally, Captain Thylex nodded. 24 hours. But if anyone else gets hurt, we end this. Do you understand?" Zara nodded. As the crew left the observation deck, she stayed behind. She pulled up a chair and sat down to watch Glassclaw. The creature was still looking at her, its head tilted to one side. "What are you trying to tell me?" she whispered to herself. Time was running out, and she had to figure out the truth about this mysterious beast before it was too late. Zara spent the next 12 hours in her small quarters, reading everything she could find about Corvash and its creatures. Her computer screen glowed in the dark room as she scrolled through report after report. Most of the information was scary. Corvash was called the Crystal Death World for good reasons. The air was full of tiny glass particles that could cut up your lungs. The ground was covered with sharp rocks that could slice through boots. Acid pools bubbled everywhere, and the storms could strip the paint off a spaceship. But the more Zara read, the more confused she became. The reports about Glassclaw's species didn't make sense. Some said they were lone hunters that killed anything they saw. Others said they traveled in small groups but fought each other constantly. A few mentioned that they might be pack animals. But those reports were marked as unconfirmed. She found one interesting file buried deep in the database. It was written by a scientist named Dr. Corin, who had studied Corvash creatures 30 years ago. He wrote that the glass-scaled beasts might actually be very social animals, but his research was cut short when his team was attacked. Zara leaned back in her chair and rubbed her tired eyes. She looked at the time. Only 12 hours left before Captain Thylex would make his final decision about Glassclaw. A soft knock came at her door. "Come in," she said. Dr. Vextai stepped into the room. His gray face looked worried. "I wanted to check on your progress. Have you found anything useful?" Maybe," Zara said. "Can you tell me exactly when and where your team found Glassclaw?" The alien scientist touched his tablet and pulled up a file. "Here." The scout team found it 6 weeks ago, near the Singing Crystals Formation on Corvash's southern continent. It was during their mating season. "Mating season?" Zara sat up straight. "You didn't mention that before. I didn't think it mattered." The creature was alone when we found it. Zara's mind started working faster. What if it wasn't supposed to be alone? What if something happened to its family or pack? Dr. Vextai shook his head. The database clearly states that these creatures are solitary hunters during mating season. They become extremely territorial and aggressive. "But what about the rest of the year?" Zara asked. "What are they like when it's not mating season?" The alien was quiet for a moment. "The database doesn't have much information about that. Most contact with these creatures happens during mating season because that's when they're most active and visible." Zara felt excited. This could be the answer she was looking for. "So, we've been treating Glassclaw based on how its species acts during one specific time of year. But what if they're completely different the rest of the time?" That's possible, Dr. Vextai admitted. But it's also very dangerous to assume. We can't risk crew lives on a guess. After he left, Zara kept reading. She found more clues in the strangest places. A trade report mentioned that crystal formations on Corvash often showed signs of careful arrangement, as if someone had built them on purpose. A geological survey noted that the creature's territories seemed to overlap during certain seasons, which was unusual for solitary animals. Then she found something that made her heart beat faster. In the ship's audio files from their time on Corvash, she discovered recordings of the sounds Glassclaw's species made. When she played them through her computer, she realized they weren't random roars or growls. They had patterns, like music. She spent hours analyzing the sounds. The more she listened, the more familiar they seemed. The low tones reminded her of whale songs from Earth. The high notes were like bird calls, but there was something else. Something that reminded her of the way her grandmother used to hum when she worked in the garden. Zara grabbed her tablet and ran back to the observation deck. Glassclaw was lying in the same position, but its breathing was slower now. The dark spot on its back looked bigger. "Computer, play the Corvash creature audio files," she said. The speakers filled the room with the strange, musical sounds. Glassclaw's head shot up immediately. The creature made a soft noise that sounded almost like crying. It moved closer to the glass wall and made the same sounds back. "It's trying to communicate," Zara whispered. "It's not just an animal. It's trying to talk." She watched as Glassclaw pressed its body against the glass. The creature's scales had changed color from bright silver to a soft blue-green. Its eyes were fixed on the speakers, where the sounds were coming from. When the recording ended, Glassclaw made one long, sad noise and curled up in the corner again. Its scales went back to the bright silver color, but now they seemed dimmer than before. Zara understood. The creature thought it had heard others of its kind, but when the sounds stopped, it realized it was still alone. The poor thing was dying of loneliness, just like she had suspected. She spent the rest of the night studying everything she could about animal behavior, both from Earth and from other planets. The pattern was always the same. Social animals that were separated from their groups got sick and died, even if they had food, water, and medical care. But humans had learned how to help lonely animals on Earth. Sometimes you could save them by becoming their family, even if you were a different species. Zara had done it herself with orphaned foals and abandoned puppies. The question was, could she do the same thing with an alien creature that everyone else thought was a monster? As the sun simulation began to brighten the ship's corridors, Zara made her decision. She was going to try something that had never been done before. She was going to offer friendship to a creature from another world. She just hoped she would live long enough to find out if it would work. The ship's computer announced that she had only 6 hours left before the deadline. 6 hours to prove that sometimes the most dangerous creatures just needed someone to show them they weren't alone anymore. The night shift was quiet on the Nexus Prime. Most of the crew was sleeping, and only a few aliens walked the corridors. Zara waited in her quarters until she was sure everyone was busy with their duties. Then she grabbed her medical kit and headed to the containment bay. Her heart was beating fast as she walked down the empty hallway. What she was about to do was against every safety rule on the ship. If Captain Thylex found out, she would probably be thrown in the brig. If Glassclaw really was as dangerous as everyone thought, she might not live to face punishment. But she had to try. The creature was dying, and nobody else would help it. Zara reached the containment bay and quietly opened the door. The lights were dimmed for the night cycle, and Glassclaw was lying still in its cage. She could see the creature's chest moving up and down, but each breath looked harder than the last. "Computer, disable emergency lockdown protocols for Containment Unit 7, she whispered. "Please state authorization code," the computer replied. Zara entered her emergency override code. As the ship's xenobiologist, She had access to the containment systems in case of medical emergencies. She hoped the computer would count this as one. Authorization accepted. Lockdown protocols disabled for 30 minutes. 30 minutes. That wasn't very long, but it would have to be enough. Zara walked slowly to the cage controls. Her hands shook as she entered the unlock sequence. The thick glass wall began to slide upward with a soft humming sound. Immediately, alarms started ringing in the observation deck above. Zara looked up and saw alien faces pressed against the windows. "Doctor!" Vextai was shouting something she couldn't hear through the soundproof glass. Captain Thylex appeared, his 6 arms waving frantically. But Zara ignored them all. She stepped through the opening into Glassclaw's cage. The creature's head snapped up the moment she entered. Its scales flashed bright silver, almost like mirrors. The glass claws on its feet scraped against the metal floor as it stood up to its full height. It was even bigger up close, at least 12 feet tall and 20 feet long. Glassclaw opened its mouth and made a deep, rumbling sound that Zara felt in her bones. Green acid dripped from its teeth and hit the floor with little pops and hisses. The creature's neck stretched toward her, and she could see every sharp detail of its face. This was the moment of truth. Every instinct Zara had was screaming at her to run. Her body wanted to turn around and race back to safety. But she had learned long ago that sometimes you had to ignore your fear to help someone in pain. Instead of running, Zara sat down on the floor. The simple action seemed to confuse Glassclaw. The creature tilted its head to one side, and its mouth closed. The threatening rumble became quieter, more like a question. Zara took a deep breath and began to hum. It was an old song her grandmother had taught her when she was little. Nothing fancy, just a simple melody that her grandmother used to sing while she worked. Zara had hummed it to scared horses, lonely dogs, and crying babies. She had no idea if it would work on an alien creature, but it was all she had. At first, Glassclaw just stared at her. Its scales continued to flash, and its claws remained extended. Above them, Zara could see the alien crew preparing emergency equipment. Someone was pointing a large tranquilizer gun at the cage. But then, something amazing happened. The creature's scales began to change color. Instead of bright, angry silver, they shifted to the soft blue-green that Zara had seen when it heard the recordings. The flashing slowed down and stopped. Glassclaw took a step closer, then stopped. It made a soft sound. Not a roar or a growl, but something almost musical. The creature was listening to her humming. Zara kept singing, even though her voice was shaky with fear. She watched as Glassclaw slowly lowered its head to the ground, bringing its face closer to her level. The creature's breathing became slower and deeper. Minutes passed. The creature and the human sat there together, one humming an old Earth song, the other listening with what looked like wonder in its big eyes. Finally, Glassclaw made a sound that was clearly trying to copy her melody. It was rough and deep, nothing like human music. But Zara could hear the same pattern in it. The creature was trying to sing with her. Tears came to Zara's eyes. This wasn't a mindless monster. This was a thinking, feeling being that had been alone and scared for weeks. All it had wanted was someone to understand it. Very slowly, she reached out her hand. Glassclaw watched her movement, but didn't pull away. When her fingers touched the creature's nose, its scales shimmered with colors she had never seen before. Warm golds and gentle purples that seemed to glow from within. "Easy, buddy," she whispered. "I've got you." The creature closed its eyes and leaned into her touch. Its whole body seemed to relax for the first time since she had been watching it. Above them, the alien crew was going crazy. She could see them arguing and pointing, but their voices couldn't reach her through the glass. All that mattered right now was the connection she had made with this lonely creature from another world. Zara looked more closely at Glassclaw's back and saw that the dark spot she had noticed was definitely a wound. It was infected, and probably very painful. No wonder the creature had been so defensive when the medical team tried to approach it. "You're hurt, aren't you?" she said softly. "Let me help." She opened her medical kit and pulled out antiseptic spray and bandages. Glassclaw watched her every movement, but stayed perfectly still as she cleaned and treated the wound. The creature even moved its leg to give her better access to the injury. When she was done, Glassclaw made another musical sound, this one higher and lighter than before. It almost sounded like the creature was saying, "Thank you." Zara smiled and patted the creature's snout gently. "You're welcome. Easy, buddy." For the first time in weeks, Glassclaw looked peaceful. Its breathing was steady, its colors were warm and soft, and its eyes were bright and alert, instead of dull and sick. The computer announced that the lockdown override would expire in 5 minutes. But Zara wasn't worried anymore. She had proven something that no alien scientist had believed possible. Sometimes, the most dangerous creatures just needed a friend. The next morning, Captain Thylex called an emergency meeting. All the senior crew gathered in the main conference room, their faces showing mixtures of amazement, confusion, and fear. Zara sat at the table with everyone staring at her. "What you did last night was extremely dangerous," the captain said. His 4 eyes were all focused on her. "You could have been killed, but I wasn't," Zara replied calmly. "And now, Glassclaw is getting better." It was true. The creature had eaten food for the first time in 3 days. Its wound was healing, and its vital signs were stronger. Most importantly, it had stopped making the sad, lonely sounds that had filled the containment bay for weeks. "That doesn't matter," Dr. Vextai said angrily. "You broke safety protocols. You endangered the entire ship." "I saved a life," Zara shot back. "Isn't that what we're supposed to do as scientists?" Chief Security Officer Gromack leaned forward in his chair. His heavy armor made scraping sounds against the table. "You got lucky. Human. That creature could have torn you apart in seconds." Zara shook her head. "No, you're wrong. Glassclaw was never trying to hurt anyone. It was trying to communicate." "Oh? Communicate?" Dr. Vextai laughed. "It's an animal. Animals don't communicate the way thinking beings do." "Then explain this," Zara said. She activated her tablet and showed them video recordings from the containment bay. "Watch Glassclaw's behavior when your crew first tried to give it medicine." The video played on the main screen. It showed the alien medical team approaching the cage with their robot arm. Glassclaw immediately started moving its claws in quick, complex patterns. "You see that as aggressive behavior," Zara explained. "But look closer. Those claw movements aren't random. They're following a specific pattern. Almost like sign language." She paused the video and pointed to the screen. "And here, when it opened its mouth and acid came out, you thought it was trying to attack. But watch. It's not aiming the acid at anyone. Round. It's releasing it into the air. On Corvash, that's probably how they share scent information with their pack." Captain Thylex looked interested despite himself. "Continue." Zara showed them more clips. Every time someone approached, Glassclaw did the same things. Claw movements, scent release, specific body postures. It was trying to introduce itself, the way its species normally would. But when the crew ran away or pointed weapons at it, Glassclaw got confused and scared. Dr. Vextai was quiet for a long moment. "Even if that's true, it still attacked 3 crew members." "Did it?" Zara asked. She showed them another video. "Look at this footage again." Glassclaw reaches toward the medical officer with its claws. "You recorded this as an attack, but watch what happens next." In the video, the alien medical officer backed away quickly. Glassclaw followed, but its movements were slow and careful. When the officer fell down, the creature stopped immediately and made soft, questioning sounds. "It was trying to help," Zara said quietly. When the officer fell, Glassclaw was concerned. The scratches on the crew members weren't from attacks. They were from the creature trying to touch them gently with claws that are sharper than it realized. The room fell silent. Everyone stared at the screen, seeing the footage in a completely new way. "There's more," Zara continued. "I spent the last few hours analyzing the sounds Glassclaw makes. They're not just random noises. Listen to this. Nined? Weed. End quote. Nined. Weed. Nined. She played a recording of the creature's vocalizations from different times. These sounds from yesterday when it was alone. They're sad, calling sounds. It was crying for its pack. These sounds from this morning. They're content, peaceful sounds. And these. She played the musical tones Glassclaw had made while she was humming. It was trying to sing with me. It heard my song and wanted to join in. Captain Thylex rubbed his forehead with two of his hands. This changes everything we know about these creatures. It changes everything we know about how to interact with alien species, Zara corrected him. We've been approaching first contact situations with fear and weapons. What if we tried approaching with curiosity and kindness instead? Over the next few days, Zara spent more and more time with Glassclaw. Each visit taught her something new about the creature's intelligence and personality. She discovered that Glassclaw was incredibly smart. The creature quickly learned to recognize her voice and would make happy sounds whenever she entered the containment bay. It learned to be more careful with its claws when touching her, and it figured out how to control its acid production so it wouldn't accidentally hurt her. Most amazing of all, Glassclaw seemed to understand human emotions. When Zara was tired, the creature would lie down quietly and make soft, comforting sounds. When she was excited about a new discovery, Glassclaw would become more active and playful, changing its scales to bright, cheerful colors. It's empathic, Zara explained to the crew during another meeting. It can sense how I'm feeling and responds to my emotional state. That's why it was so agitated before. It was picking up on everyone's fear and hostility. Dr. Vex's Thai had become very interested in Zara's work. This could revolutionize xenobiology. Argodid, Zay Enamai, he said. If these creatures are truly empathic, it means they have a level of emotional intelligence we've never encountered before. If these creatures all weigh, NEC, all weigh, not just these creatures, Zara said. I think empathy might be more common in the universe than we realize. We just haven't been looking for it, because we assumed intelligence and emotion were separate things. The breakthrough came when Zara realized something important about human psychology. Humans had evolved as social animals. Just like many species on Earth, they had developed special brain cells called mirror neurons that helped them understand and copy the emotions of others. This made humans naturally good at empathy, even with animals that were very different from them. Most alien species in the galaxy had evolved differently. They were highly logical and intelligent, but they didn't have the same emotional connections. They could understand that other beings had feelings, but they couldn't feel those emotions themselves. That's why I could connect with Glassclaw when nobody else could, Zara explained. It's not that I'm braver or smarter. It's that humans are naturally empathic. We can feel what other creatures are feeling, even alien ones. Captain Thylex looked thoughtful. Are you saying that humans might be uniquely suited for interspecies communication? What? Zara nodded. I think we might be the first species that can truly understand other beings on an emotional level. And if that's true, it means humanity has something very special to offer the galaxy. As she spoke, Glassclaw called to her from the containment bay. The creature had learned that certain sounds would bring her running, and it liked having her nearby. I've got you. Easy, buddy, she called back, and the whole crew could hear the creature's happy response. For the first time, They were all beginning to understand what that really meant. 6 months later, Zara stood on the crystal plains of Corvash, breathing through an air filter and watching the most beautiful sight she had ever seen. Glassclaw was running across the sparkling ground toward a group of creatures just like itself, its pack, its family. The reunion was everything Zara had hoped it would be. The pack surrounded Glassclaw with joyful sounds and gentle touches. Their scales flashed in patterns of gold and blue that clearly meant happiness and welcome. After weeks of sadness and loneliness, Glassclaw was home. "I still can't believe this is the same planet we visited before," Captain Thylex said. He stood beside Zara, all four of his eyes wide with wonder. The Corvash they were seeing now was nothing like the death world described in the old reports. Yes, there were still acid pools and crystal storms, but there was also incredible beauty. Gardens of living crystal grew in careful patterns. Clear streams flowed between the glass formations. And everywhere, creatures moved peacefully through their daily lives. "The difference is in how we approached them," Zara explained. "Before, we came with weapons and fear. Now we came with friendship and respect." It had taken months to plan this return trip. Word of Zara's success with Glassclaw had spread through the galactic scientific community like wildfire. The story of the human who could tame dangerous beasts had become legend. But Zara knew it was much more important than that. She had proven that humans had a special gift for connecting with other species. Universities across the galaxy were now sending requests for human researchers to join their teams. The Galactic Science Council had asked her to develop new protocols for first contact situations. "Dr. Chen," came a voice behind her. She turned to see Dr. Vex Tai approaching, his gray skin bright with excitement. "You need to see this." He led her to where other members of Glassclaw's pack were gathered around a cluster of crystals. The creatures were using their sharp claws to carefully shape and arrange the formations. "They're building something," Dr. Vex Tai said. "Not just randomly digging or breaking things. They're creating art." Zara watched in amazement as the creatures worked together. Each one seemed to have a specific job. Some cut the crystals to exact sizes. Others polished them until they shone. And still others arranged them into complex patterns. The finished sections looked like giant musical instruments made of living glass. "It's not just art," she realized. "Look at how the crystals are positioned. They're designed to catch and amplify sound. This is how they communicate across long distances." Captain Thylex activated his recording equipment. "The implications are staggering. These aren't just intelligent creatures. They're advanced engineers and artists." "How did we miss this for so long?" "Because we were afraid," Zara said simply. "When you're scared of something, you don't take time to really see it. You just try to protect yourself or control it." Glassclaw noticed her watching and approached with its pack. The creature's scales shimmered with warm colors as it gently touched her hand with the tip of one claw. Then it made a series of musical sounds to its pack members. "What is it saying?" Dr. Vex Tai asked. Zara had been learning to understand Glassclaw's language during their journey to Corvash. "It's introducing me. It's telling them I'm part of its family now." The pack members gathered around Zara curiously. They made soft, questioning sounds and displayed scales in colors she was beginning to recognize as friendly greetings. One of them, a smaller creature that was probably young, reached out and carefully touched her hair. "They're welcoming you," Dr. Vex Tai said with wonder in his voice. "They're treating you like one of their own." This was exactly what Zara had hoped would happen. Over the following days, she learned more about Glassclaw's people than all previous expeditions combined. They showed her their crystal gardens, their music chambers, and their nurseries where baby creatures played in pools of warm, healing water. She discovered that what humans called acid breath was actually a complex chemical communication system. Different scents conveyed different meanings: danger, food, family relationships, even abstract concepts like time and distance. The glass claws that seemed so dangerous were incredibly precise tools. She watched pack members use them for delicate tasks like carving intricate patterns, harvesting crystalline fruits, and even performing medical procedures on injured packmates. Most importantly, she learned that glass claws people had their own rich culture. They told stories by creating light patterns with their scales. They had complex social structures based on cooperation rather than dominance. They even had concepts that were similar to human ideas about art, music, and family. "We need to rewrite everything," Dr. Vextai said one evening as they sat around their camp. "The entire galactic database about this species is wrong." "Not just this species," Zara said. "How many other worlds have we labeled as death worlds because we were too afraid to really understand them? How many other species have we called monsters because we didn't know how to communicate with them?" Captain Thylex nodded thoughtfully. "The Council is already asking for your recommendations on new exploration protocols." Zara had been thinking about this a lot. "I want to establish training centers on different worlds. Places where humans can learn to work with alien species, and where aliens can learn to understand human empathy. We need to teach both sides how to connect." 3 weeks later, as their ship prepared to leave Corvash, Glassclaw and its pack gathered to say goodbye. The creatures sang together, their voices creating harmonies that made the crystal formations around them ring like bells. Zara hugged Glassclaw's great head one last time. "I'll miss you too, buddy," she whispered. "But I'll be back." The creature made a sound she had learned meant family always returns to family. As the ship lifted off, Zara watched Corvash shrink below them. She was already planning her next mission, to the ice world of Zyros, where wolf-like creatures had been terrorizing mining operations. The miners wanted them eliminated, but Zara suspected the creatures were just protecting their territory and young. "Ready for another impossible mission?" Captain Thylex asked, with what might have been a smile. Zara grinned. "There's no such thing as an impossible mission. There are just misunderstandings waiting to be solved." Her work had become bigger than just one ship or one species. The Interspecies Empathy Institute was already being built on 3 different worlds. Universities were creating new programs in xenopsychology, and every day, more species were requesting human mediators for their first contact missions. The galaxy was beginning to understand that the key to peaceful coexistence wasn't bigger weapons or stronger shields. It was the simple human ability to look at a scared, dangerous creature and say, "I've got you, easy buddy," and mean it with your whole heart. As they jumped to hyperspace, Zara's communication device chimed with a new message. The mining colony on Zyros was reporting that a pack of the savage beasts had just rescued a group of miners who were trapped in an ice cave collapse. Maybe the creatures weren't so savage after all. Zara smiled and started planning her next conversation with another misunderstood species. After all, every creature in the universe just wanted the same thing: to be seen, to be understood, and to know that someone cared enough to say, "I've got you." 7. And humans, it turned out, were very good at caring.